to Leafs fans in hostile lands. We're in person. This is exciting.
Hooray!
We don't have to wait for a delay.
Thank God.
Yay!
Thank you, Craig, for following suit and delaying as it usually is you. This is exciting.
Yeah, all right.
Don't forget to interrupt as we go. And trade deadline happened. Oh my God. A lot happened. Did it? Maybe? No.
Nothing happened.
There was a lot of trades.
Or a lot
It
of
was actually a
trades.
lot more than I was expecting. Honestly.
Yeah, a lot of last minute. The 21st was busy.
The last couple of years, there just hasn't been a lot because of COVID and David Ayers and all the, assorted reasons. But this year was actually pretty.
Why'd you have to lump in Ayers there? Like, you could have said almost
Every
anything
podcast.
else.
This is our 50th podcast. We had
There
to
you
get
go,
David
you
Ayers
gotta
in there.
mention him.
That's
Okay.
true.
Fair
That's true. Okay, so we're going to get right into the trade deadline. Leafs pick up Mark Giordano. Woohoo!
Yeah, buddy.
And Colin Blackwell. Very exciting, very exciting. Seattle retains 50% of Giordano. And the Leafs send away second-round pick this year, second-round pick next year, and third-round pick the year after that. So a little spread out, so it's not like one draft is totally fucked up. I'm going to give you guys and our listeners just a review of some of Dubas's previous deadlines as well. And we're going to rate this deadline good, bad, underwhelming, or overpaid. So last year we had the Foligno trade, which sent a first and 2/4 away. We also picked up Galchenyuk significantly before the deadline, but it was basically for nothing. David Riddick, I believe, was a third round. Riley Nash, can't remember. Ben Hutton for some kind of rounder, and Swamella was for Barabanov. A lot going on in that draft compared to this one.
Yep.
Year before, Campbell, Clifford, and the ever awesome Dennis Malgin. Thank God we got him and sent out Mason Marchment, just killing it on the Panthers, probably going to win a cup. My God. But we did get Campbell and Clifford is back. The year before that was, I believe, Dubas's first deadline, if I'm not mistaken. And that's where we got Jake Muzzin and Nick Patan, whatever. I think the year before that was Lou's last year.
Yeah, that sounds right, because Muzzin was definitely a Dubas trade.
pickup.
That was
Yeah.
a Dubas one, yeah. And that was Babcock being like, well, he doesn't shoot right.
I think the one before that was Thomas Plekanec when they brought him in.
That's Lou.
And
for
before
sure.
that was Brian Boyle. And neither of those were big. They're kind of fourth line centers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Okay, so in comparison, this year, you think good, bad, underwhelming, or overpaid?
I'm going to say good. Overall, I think that we didn't really pay too much for Giordano and Blackwell. I think we're kind of within the realm of where they should be, especially if Giordano becomes a rental and, we don't have him next year. But I'm feeling like, I'm going to put it in percentage. I feel 80% good about this trade deadline. I have 20% of me that is a little frustrated we didn't pick up a goaltender, but we'll talk about that.
well, we kind of did pick up a goaltender and then
Sure,
immediately
for 12
lost
hours.
him. Yeah, exactly. I think Dubas did a good job with what he was able to do this year. He said going into this, he wasn't going to trade a first rounder and he wasn't going to trade one of their blue chip prospects.
Yeah.
And he said, we can and we will keep these things. And he did. So I think there was just such a high price on everybody this year. Any of the teams that were selling were just able to, make out like bandits. Like, look at what some of the other guys went for, like the Ben Sherrod. I know there's lots of talk going around of what he went for compared to Giordano. And I think 2 seconds and a third for not only Giordano but some more forward depth as well with Blackwell, who can play a wing and can play center apparently pretty well.
Cool.
I think that's a great. It's a good price to pay for what they got.
And they're both excited to be here, which
Yeah,
is kind of nice. I don't know-
Especially Gio, yeah.
Yeah. Did you guys watch the media availability for both of them?
No,
So Blackwell is super pumped to be here.
Cool.
Gio's from Toronto, so he's got that kind of the hometown roots, or he played in Toronto or something. There's a connection. I'm not entirely sure, but he's got roots here. And then Blackwell is just really pumped, especially coming from Seattle,
I was
knowing
gonna
he
say,
wasn't going to be.
coming from Seattle, why wouldn't you be pumped to come to
Exactly.
Toronto?
It's wedding bells everywhere. Like, everyone's happy about this. So I'm excited to see them playing on the team that they want to play for and want to do well for.
And somehow going to the only team in the league who has worse goaltending right now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oof.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We'll get to that too.
I forgot to mention the other two things that happened to the Leafs, at least around the deadline right now. Alex Biega goes to the Nashville Predators for future considerations. Thank you so much, Nashville, for your future considerations.
That was hilarious.
Probably nothing. And then Travis Dermott, he gets the boot finally. I feel like this is just a Dubas doing right by him. He's the 8th defenseman probably. Even with Sandin out, he might be the 7th or the 8th defenseman. They pick up a 3rd-round pick from Vancouver, which was interesting because they sent Hamonic to the Sens and got a 3rd-round pick and then didn't flip that 3rd, but just gave up a different 3rd to get Travis Dermott. And Dermott is definitely better than Hamonic, at least in their current career paths.
It's a wild move by Ottawa, isn't it?
It's
to
a stupid move
give
by
away
Ottawa.
a third
Don't
for
understand
Hamonic,
why that
who's literally
happened.
just on waivers.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're planning on putting him down. Like, okay, last year Toronto picked up Galchenyuk, who had just gone through waivers, and they traded for him. People said, like, why would you do that? Well, now he's on the Marlies, and they're able to do that without putting him through waivers again. Ottawa's not going to put Hamonic on waivers again. They're not going to send him down to Belleville. Like, just giving up a 3rd for that.
Maybe that was a Hamonic thing. Maybe but he liked the West.
Yeah, but
That's so weird. Yeah,
he got waived. Therefore, it wasn't like it was a no move kind of thing. They still can claim him, and they were pretty damn high up the list to be able to claim somebody. Like, it's not like they tried to put it in and it wasn't going to go through because they were in top of the league.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was a blunder.
I am going to say, and you guys both said good for this trade deadline. I'm going to say underwhelming, especially since last year was very, very good, especially with Foligno coming in. They didn't trade a first this year, so that's good. They also didn't trade a first 2 years ago until they traded Patrick Marleau, right? So they didn't trade that, and they were able to recoup one from Kapanen, so that's super cool. So I'm going to say underwhelming, and mainly because of the trade that didn't happen. Did you guys hear about this?
Yeah,
the big deal trade that didn't happen now.
From what I understand, it was with the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yep.
Marc-Andre Fleury come to the Leafs. Brandon Hagel come to the Leafs, who eventually went to Tampa for 2 first-round picks. Like, people would have exploded. Not only did he give up the first that he said he wasn't going to give up, he gave up 2, plus Mrazek, probably just a cap dump, but also, Chicago needs a goalie. Maybe it's a reclamation project. And Matthew Nyes. So the big chip prospect, 2nd-round pick, but just lights out in the American League. And not American League, but in college, and then on the, World Juniors? And then I think he even went to the Olympics, too.
I believe, I think he may have.
I think he did. Okay. There were quite a few young ones at the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been awesome. Not only just to talk about, but also we got Fleury.
Yeah,
Fleury
that'd
and
be
Campbell.
a pretty
I would feel so good about that. So good about that.
Yeah.
Now, in comparison, Tampa did get Brandon Hagel for 2 firsts and 2 young players. And the young players are quite good. However, they did get 2 fourths back in return. So a little bit of recouping. And Craig, I think you mentioned they're fine with that because they draft like monsters in the 3rd and 4th. And something like Kucherov is, a 5th or something?
And they don't have a salary cap, so they don't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
It doesn't exist for them. And then Minnesota did end up getting Fleury for a conditional 2nd that can bump up to a 1st if they make it to the Western Conference Final. So in retrospect, I'd say Chicago did get a little bit more because they didn't have to take on Mrazek. They didn't have to take on his cap. Matthew Nyes, though, seemed to be the one that Dubas was like, nope, we are stopping this deal right now because I want this prospect. And he might even play this year.
The Leafs are going to need players like that coming forward because right now we are a couple years out from the Big Four all needing new contracts again. And they're not going to be able to re-sign all 4 of those guys. And they're going to need good high-end talent to be able to replace some of them at some point. And I think in the next 2-3 years, you're going to need guys like that. Toronto hasn't had a first-round pick in the last 3 years. And the one that they did have is Rodion Amirov. And hopefully he gets better, but he may not ever play again. We don't know at this point. So I think Toronto and Dubas, I'm not sure if it's a Dubas call. This might even be a Shanahan call, saying you can't be trading 2 first-round picks for a guy who, like Hagel, who he's putting up good numbers this year, but he has a very high shooting percentage. He doesn't create a lot of offense. That's a lot to pay for someone like that. And I don't know if he's going to be able to contribute a Blake Coleman or not Johnny Gaudreau. the other Goodrow. But
Frederick.
thank you. They had a role in that team. I'm hoping that Hagel maybe can do something for them, but he doesn't seem like something that's worth 2 first-round picks.
So does that mean that trade that Tampa made was a super overpay?
I think so.
Yeah, definitely.
I couldn't believe
Definitely
it. Now,
paid way
given
too much.
Tampa does draft like monsters, like fine. But
Does
that's
Tampa
nuts.
draft well, or did Yzerman draft well?
Well, Breezeball, he's done.
He's
well, I guess
done
we don't know.
okay.
I guess we don't
But
know.
most of that team that won 2 Stanley Cups was Steve Yzerman.
Yes,
That was his team. So
contracts and drafts and everything.
yeah,
Okay, and just to back up Craig's point there, Mikheyev, UFA starting next year. Engvall and Kasha, RFAs starting next year. Spezza.
Kasha's an RFA.
He is, yeah,
Ah.
which is kind of nice.
I like that.
Spezza, sure, you're going to come back. That's fine. Blackwell, who we just got. UFA, Kerfoot UFA in 2 years. Kind of surprised he didn't go, but at the same time, he has a role.
He does
And-
now. Yeah.
and It's just up and down. He can do anything, and he still contributes in different ways. Bunting, 2 years, probably gone if he continues this
This
uphill.
streak that he's on.
Yeah, this streak. Simmons, 2 years, potentially gone. So that's a significant amount of space that needs to be filled, and the big four are not gone until 3 or 4 years. So
Right.
Robertson, Nyes, a couple defensemen in there. They're going to get some good training in a couple years and take over some spots. So I totally agree with
Yeah.
Craig that not getting rid of Nyes is a good idea. It would have been cool to have Fleury. We would have had Hagel for 2 years at only 1.5, which would have been great. But it's the risk you take. And he didn't give up a first or 2 firsts. Ugh.
And honestly, for that price, is he contributing more than Mikheyev? I don't know.
He must be if Tampa's going
We'll
hard
find
for him.
out.
Well,
Certainly.
we will find out. Sure, he's shooting lights out right now, but like, is he going to 2 first-round picks? That's what Toronto paid for Phil Kessel. Put that in perspective.
Yeah, but that's what they're trying to pay for another Stanley Cup win.
Yes, and I guess at this point you want to go all in because you've won 2 in a row. Why
Yeah,
not?
They have to,
But
right?
that-
They've got to spend the big money to get there.
But when you think of that, like, what's their future going to be? Like, yes, they're going to have to draft really well because they don't have first-round picks anymore.
I think their pipeline is stacked. Like
Yeah,
the crunch,
probably.
The Syracuse crunch is just... Okay, but let's go on to the people that we did get. Giordano. Is he exactly what we needed? Danny?
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Go, Greg.
That's all I had.
That's all he has to say.
Please
Classic
elaborate.
nurse yes over there from Craig.
Oh, I gotta say, I agree with Craig though. I think solid defenseman. He plays pretty much perfect defensive hockey. He's got the veteran presence. His point. We don't have him for points. Like, he's not gonna score goals this year. We're not looking at him to carry some big point carry total to the playoffs. But he's the defensive-minded defense that's going to stay at home, protect the net, move people out of the net. He's a little bit. He's got a lot of toughness to him, so we're going to be relying on that going in for a playoff run. I don't think it's a bad pickup. I think it's a really good pickup, and I'm excited to see him play. I liked him when he was playing for Calgary because I would watch Calgary games on the side. I admittedly didn't watch him when he was playing with Seattle because who watches Seattle play unless they're playing Toronto? But I think it's a really good stopgap if we're not going to fill the goalie position to bolster the defense. I mean, we had to do something, and Dermott leaving is kind of a result of not needing more defense, which I think is now...
That's so weird for the Leafs.
It's so weird.
Not
It's
needing
weird
defense.
to say. Like, we just don't... We have a good problem in that we can cycle defense when people get injured, and we have a little bit of depth in the defense, which we really haven't had. We've been... we pull up from the AHL whenever we can to cover gaps, and now it's a lot better. So I'm feeling really good about it.
You know who I'm going to give the most props for that is Lilligren. He really came into his own.
Yes,
this year.
yes.
We were worried about that. It's like, when is his time? Now is the time.
Yeah.
And he did it. And I feel like our depth has just blossomed because of that. And adding Giordano just adds it even more. And Lilligren doesn't have to play top line minutes. But we also found out he can.
Yeah.
He did a better job with Riley on the top line than Sandin did.
Yeah.
Wasn't playing as
Options.
offside, but yeah, that
Options.
helped. Yeah.
But it also lets Sandin play the third line, which is really where he should be. We're not
And where
relying
he
on-
can dominate at.
exactly.
Yes,
We're
he
not
should be playing
relying on him
higher.
for higher.
But when you have guys playing below their skill level, it means that they can dominate.
Yeah.
We've seen Sandine and Liljegren play together and as a third line pair, and just in small minutes, and especially they're usually on there with the first line, they just dominate.
Yeah.
And as long as they're staying in the offensive zone, they're going to be fine. When it comes back the other way, it's a little bit different. But Dan, I want to agree with what you were saying about Giordano. No, he's not going to have a lot of offense anymore. That really has dropped off in his game as he's gotten older. But most of the stat cards still say he is in, the top 5% of defensive defensemen in the league. And what have we been saying all season? What does Toronto have? They have offensive defensemen, and they needed defensive guys. And between Giordano and Lyubushkin, we have basically overhauled what our defense looks like.
Yeah.
Just by those two moves, we actually have guys that can play defense now.
And if Muzzin comes back, or when Muzzin comes back. Come on.
I want to see
a defense that I can get behind in a playoff run.
Muzzin Lyubushkin, that will be a difficult pairing to play against if they do play together.
Yeah.
But that would just be a grinding, hard pair to play against.
Yeah.
And to reiterate what I just said about Liljegren moving around, a lot of these guys have played with each other.
Yes, they have now.
So someone goes down, we can move things around. Something's not working, we can move things around.
Mm-hmm.
Man, great job by Keefe on that. And he didn't just do it when we played shitty teams. Especially because we suck at playing shitty teams. My God.
It's the kryptonite.
Can't wait for the
Maple
loss
Leafs.
tomorrow against New Jersey just because they're shit, not because they're good or anything.
Those are the games you want to move guys around to be able to evaluate, but this season you just haven't been able to because they've been so bad
Move
against
them around
them.
when you're against Tampa. What
Yeah.
the fuck?
Yeah. It's not going to work.
Dan, any extra stats you want to say on Gio before we move on?
Well, I mean, as I said, we're not picking him up for stats in terms of points. We're picking him up for the block shots, for the toughness in front of the net.
How are his cross checks?
Cross checks. I'm hoping.
Is he have a high cross check per 60?
To be fair, right now, a little bit of that on the Leafs, I don't think it's a bad idea. I would
Just not in the face.
Well,
Not in the
Right, yeah.
It depends which ref sees and which angle they see, so you never know. But stat wise, he is declining. You're right. But the nice thing is, he's so in the 2020-2021 season, he played 56 games, 26 points. And then this year, he's played 55 for 23 points. So even on a shitty team like Seattle, he's still managed to kind of keep his stat quota where it should be, which means put him on a good team like Toronto. I'm doing air quotes for good team, but put him on a team like Toronto, and he really has the opportunity to shine. And even if he doesn't pad the stats, he's going to play really good defensive hockey, and that's really what we need right now.
Or was it 2019 or 2020? He won the Norris.
Yeah, exactly.
He won the Norris. And he was well into his 30s. I know he's, 37 now?
38,
Fine.
38.
But, like,
It was 35, 36 when he won it.
Against these, rock star defensemen, Carlson, Riley, so on and so on. Like, Fox and McCarr weren't up yet, but still.
74 points that year.
Way to go. I
For a
can see him.
defenseman.
I can see him exploding a little bit.
Now, sometimes Norris, you have to consider their partners. So it'd be really nice to have the whole pair of them.
Yeah, that's fair.
You mean Brody?
Yes.
That'd be nice. However,
We have the whole pair. I want to put some hotels on those spaces.
we are not seeing them as a pair right now in practice.
Not
What
yet,
are the
yeah.
lines we're seeing in practice, Craig?
So we have Riley, Lyubushkin, Brody Hall, and Gio Liljegren. They are practicing.
Do you think that's only because Sandin is out?
Yes.
Okay. And Hall and Brody have been clicking.
Yeah.
I got no problem with that. And
Riley, Lyubushkin have been as well.
yeah, they're clicking. And I've said it 4 times. They can move things around. They already know from years and years of experience that Gio and Brody are going to work.
Yes.
If something's not working,
Exactly.
Gio, Brody, go. And they'll be like, let's go.
But then again, I think Gio's good enough that he can make any partner he's with better.
Oh, I sure fucking hope
Yeah.
so. That'd be the best.
So
Gio, Boosh.
yeah, even that.
And then he gets to be a little more offensive again. Why not?
Yeah.
If we need to. That's the thing. We
Yeah.
can do whatever we want right now. And
do what we
defensively, it's a good feeling after the trade deadline to come off thinking, okay, defensively we're set. Offensively we're set. There's just that little asterisk hanging there.
So who comes out when Muzzin comes back?
Hall.
I guess so.
I mean,
Brody
it's
goes to
gotta
the
be,
other
yeah.
side.
Yeah, I guess so. Who comes back? Who is when Sandin comes back?
He might not.
Maybe. Yeah.
Sorry, not that he might not come back because he's too injured. He
No,
might not
that's
come
fair.
back if things are clicking.
Yeah.
Rise the Pine Pony.
And that's
Why change
sorry,
what's
Sandine,
working?
but it's okay to have this depth.
And also, Gio's 38. Maybe give him a couple nights off.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
as you get up to the playoffs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Think he's going to stay?
I don't. I think that Calgary is going to try and get him back. They
Mhm.
were talking about trying to get him back this year, but they couldn't because of cap restrictions and because of the expansion. But I have a lot of family in Calgary, and they are all saying,
Bring
from
him
what
back.
they're hearing, they want him back. So
Yeah.
I don't expect we keep him past this year.
Well, when Calgary goes out in the first round, Gio's not going to want to go back. So
Are you insane?
If Calgary
Do
goes
you
out
know
in the
me?
first
Yes.
round, if they go out in the first round, then they've pulled a quintessential Toronto
They
after
are the-
having the best season they've had in a while.
They are
And
the
then-
Leafs of the West.
Well, I guess.
Oh
yeah,
no,
that-
Edmonton's the Leafs of the West.
They're both Leafs of the West.
They have fans. They're the Leafs of the West. My God. If,
Calgary doesn't.
if the playoffs started today, Calgary would play the Blues. If they
Have
would lose
fun,
in the first
Calgary.
round.
Yeah, that sounds like
Yeah,
a
they're gonna.
The Blues goaltending is significantly shakier for
Yeah.
sure. So I don't know. I think
really
Calgary takes that.
hasn't Huso been having a great season?
He's fallen off. He's
Oh, okay.
fallen off.
Well, that means he can fall right back though. which is what I'm ca-
Markstrom,
Just like Campbell,
This
right?
is what I'm Campbell to do,
Markstrom
yes.
will probably win the Vezina, I think. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
game one-
sure,
Sturkin,
you're right.
just Sturkin.
Game
Sorry,
one
he's,
you-
he's second. My bad.
Game
Just
when you
Sturkin.
crash the net, and you go for a Kreider Price situation, and
I was going to say,
go right on
the
to the
Montreal Canadian fans that are listening, all of them, so many, are like, fuck you, Craig.
how you
Yeah.
feel?
Shut
about,
up.
how you feel about Kreider being second in the league in goals right now?
I feel great because he's on my fantasy team.
Oh, perfect.
I picked him up for a significant amount of players.
And
but
Price
that's
still
okay.
isn't playing, so
Yeah, no doubt. Blackwell, anything to say about him?
I like him. I mean, he's nothing to look at stats wise, really. I mean, he's a pretty average player, even sometimes on the low end. But he's the Swiss Army knife of players. He can play power play. He can play penalty kill. He can fill in pretty much any position. I think he's center wing. He plays.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Sounds
he's
pretty good at
versatile.
center.
He can go anywhere. He's got good energy. He's still young. So I think it's a really good depth move by Dubas to add that to the roster. And whether or not he stays on long term after the team gets healthy, whether or not he plays a lot when the team gets healthy, it will be yet to be seen. But I think it's a really good option to have.
the only thing I know about him is when you look him up, every one of his player card photos from the last few years looks exactly the same. So that's a
not a
talent.
good
That's
sign.
a talent, I guess. Looking exactly the same in every photo.
That's funny.
But he also is excited to be on Toronto. He wants to be here, which is
Is he from
really
Toronto?
important. No, he's not. He's Massachusetts.
Oh.
Yeah. So he played Harvard. He played San Jose
So
Barracuda.
he's excited
Milwaukee,
to beat Boston in the second round.
He's excited not to be on
Can
Seattle.
you imagine?
Yeah.
That would be psycho. First
That
of all,
is a good
Boston
point,
would
Dan.
have to have either taken off Florida or Tampa, and we would have to have taken off either Carolina or Tampa.
Yeah, that's
Oh my
true.
God. Two more things for the Leafs. Dermott, do you think a third rounder was enough?
I think it's about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly.
He
Like-
was a second round pick.
But he's kind of proven to be the 7th, 8th defenseman with the Leafs.
He's going to be a 5 or 6 at least in Vancouver.
So they'll just scratch Tyler Myers and put him in his spot.
Oof. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's a
lot.
big upgrade.
Dan, you going to miss Dermott?
Not really. I mean, I enjoyed watching him play when he played, but he hasn't played that much. And again, if we have the depth to not need him, I would rather not need him.
Yeah, I think I wish he excelled a little bit more. I wish he started really, really hot. I'm like, this is awesome. This is the next one to go with Riley. This is so exciting. And he just kind of plateaued. And
He
then
did. That
maybe
was the
even went
problem.
down a little bit.
Exactly.
Sandine, Logren passed him. And it's like, okay.
I
Yep.
think he came into the league with a lot of promise. He was kind of, we kind of call him a bit of a Riley light when he first came up. Like, he's got some wheels, he's got a good sense, but he has always been prone to some gaffes. I am going to miss him on the team. He was, he was a beacon of light in some dark times quite a while ago. But like you were saying, a lot of players have passed him on the depth chart, and it just kind of made sense to do right by him and send him off somewhere he'll actually be able to play some minutes.
And as Dubas said, he's not going to get the minutes on Toronto.
No,
He'll get
especially
the
now.
minutes on Vancouver. And so really to do right by him, the choice is to move him. He
Dubas is
is an
good at that.
NHL caliber player, so keep him playing, but not on the Leafs.
Harry Sateri. You ever heard of that guy before?
I loved him.
Fanny
He
Shalani?
played so well with the Leafs. He was like our top goalie. I just loved it.
What just happened? He won a gold medal with Finland. So cool. He should potentially be in the NHL. Leafs are like, hey, you want to come play for us? He said, yes. Arizona said, no.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any fucking sense. He has to go through waivers, and then any team can pick him up. So the worst team obviously picked him up, which really, really sucks. So my quick question to you guys is, which is worse? The rule itself, that you can pick up a player on waivers when they're signed to a new deal, or that a team actually did it? Which is worse, the rule or the asshole team that did it?
That they actually did it. There is a reason for the rule. The reason is that you can't just be having handshake deals with someone in the KHL, basically circumventing the cap for the season, and then just bringing them in at the end.
Yep.
There is a bit of a reason behind it. I understand that. I don't think that was actually what happened with the Leafs. I think
No way.
they saw a guy who's been having a great year and they signed him. So yes, I'll put it on the asshole Arizona Coyotes, who just traded off a goalie who could have just been manageable for them.
Wedgwood, yep.
Yeah, and basically taking a guy who has a shot to go, well, would definitely go into the playoffs, probably play some meaningful games for Toronto, and have a chance of playing a Stanley Cup. And basically now he's just going to be riding the pine pony on a shitty team for 20 games because they also, Arizona just re-signed their starting goalie.
Yep.
So they're obviously going to be riding him for the rest of the season. Why would you re-sign him to a 3-year contract and then leave him?
So I'm going to say that it's the rule that's the problem and not the team. I'm steadfast in if it's written into the rules, you can do it. Like Tampa didn't do anything wrong last year when they stacked their lines for the playoffs.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's not like
if you're Arizona right now and you want a chance 3 years from now to do well, aren't you going to put yourself in a position?
But this guy's a 1-year contract. He might not even be. He's not going to re-sign with them next year. He's not going to re-sign with Arizona next year.
Fair. Probably
if
not.
anything, you're just souring.
He might not even sign with Arizona. But I retire.
Yeah. Well,
If I were him right now, honestly, at this point, I would just stay in Finland. Like, what's the point of coming and playing for Arizona? Like, you're just going to look terrible.
did you hear what Dubas had to say about this?
No.
So from 2018-19, the Leafs have had 11 players claim this way.
Way more
And
than anybody else. In the league.
Double more than anybody else, any other
Off
team.
waivers.
So, which is kind of a nod to the Leafs.
Good
that they're
development.
picking good players, that they're scouting good players, and the development's good. But it's also kind of a fuck you to the Leafs because nobody wants them to win.
Yep.
And you were talking about last week how Arizona's the NHL's favorite, right? So it makes sense that they're going to be the ones to do it. But in any case, if the rule's there, I'm okay with it being used, so I don't fault Arizona, even though fuck you.
Well, you just fault Arizona for everything else they do as an organization.
Yeah, that's
making
fair.
Nick Ritchie better. Thanks.
Yeah, like that should have been the warning sign. So what was Dubas thinking when he saw Ritchie play well?
Okay, enough about the Leafs. We're pretty happy with how things went. Yes?
Yeah. Yeah,
I love that was the same time. Just stop talking. That's great. That should have stopped
Same
right
inflection and everything.
there.
Now, sorry, I would have liked to see some kind of goalie move that wasn't snatched up from under us. I would have liked to see maybe
Mrazek went through
Forsberg.
waivers.
Yeah,
Ah,
that's true.
It's $1
Great,
million.
Mrazek went through
It's $1
waivers.
million in cap savings.
Yeah, that's fair.
That may have been what allowed Gio to come.
And while that's true, we spent weeks talking about how goaltending is what we needed to work on, and we didn't get anything in that department. And even the details that have come out about the Fleury potential trade, like Dubas is pissed about that because the minute details aren't supposed to be public if a deal doesn't happen. And so it was actually the Blackhawks GM that kind of started talking and released that. And Dubas is...
No, that's not confirmed. No.
No?
We don't know who the source was that Darren
Okay,
Dreger got it
sorry.
from.
Maybe not the Blackhawks GM that let it go, but Dubas is now in talks with the Blackhawks GM in a bit of a confrontational manner because of this. So
Little Kyle on Kyle violence.
little Kyle on exactly. Yeah, there you
Exactly.
Kyle, as part of the
That's-
club, please.
That's my favorite
please
kind of
mediate.
violence.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. I'm just like, hey, what's your name? Yeah, no, that's my name. Let's go. Okay, we've talked about the Leafs. Let's move on to the rest of the league. We've got a couple quick questions for you guys. You can dig in a little bit on one team each for this. Greg, you might want to look at something. I don't know, maybe if you want.
Prepare.
Who loaded up the best out of this? And you
The
can say the
best.
Leafs if you want. Who loaded up the best? I'm going to take the first one because I haven't talked much, and I like to talk. What can I say?
Do you?
Avalanche. Avalanche, I think,
Yep.
loaded up
Yep.
the best. I think Florida's giving them a run for their money. Someone else might pick them, but Avalanche loaded up nicely. I think Josh Manson is huge for them. They're going to add that grit with that. Nico Sturm, sure, you got rid of some cap space, but Arturi Lehkonen, that is someone for the playoffs. Obviously, the Habs did
Yeah.
really well last year, and Lehkonen was part of that. So I think Lehkonen is huge for them, and then just a little veteran presence with Cogliano. And they, it doesn't seem like they gave up much. But Justin Barron to the Canadiens, you guys are going to love him, I'm pretty sure. And Drew Hellison to the Ducks. Those were some players that were being looked at right underneath Bowen Byram. It was Bowen Byram and then those two guys. And they did use them both. And I think they're both first or early second round picks, something like that. And they did have to give them up, but they didn't give up their own first round pick. So I think that's tidy business. Sorry, first round pick went when they traded for Kemper. But still, I think tidy business by the Avalanche. They're already an awesome team, and they just got a lot better. Dan, who do you pick? Who went all in the best?
So I think, and it pains me a little bit to say this, but I think Calgary did a really good job this trade deadline. So they had a very few holes in their organization that they plugged really well. They got Carpenter, they got Jarn.
That is a low key awesome
Yeah,
pickup.
it
by
really
them.
is.
Oh,
I looked
man.
up his stats the other night, and I was impressed. Like, they're going to be, they are now a playoff caliber team, and they've just increased that. They didn't have to really work on goaltending because Markstrom's been incredible this year. Their defense has been solid, but with the pickup of how do you say his name? Jarnkrok.
Yarncrook.
Okay, so with him and Carpenter, they've plugged the little holes that they had in their offense, and I'm
Carpenter's
really
defense.
kind of sorry.
Carpenter's a D man.
Yeah, but sorry, like they've plugged the holes they've had in their lines.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of worried that they're going to go deep because that's the team of the West. I really don't want to see go deep. So
And then a month earlier, Toffoli.
yeah,
was the
exactly.
first
And the
domino.
Toffoli
That
trade, I
was a big
forgot all
one.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've really stacked going for it this year, and they've had a playoff caliber team for the last 4 or 5 years, except for last year when they played in the North Division, which it didn't quite work out. But that's probably because it was the North Division. Or
They just did not want to make the playoffs.
I don't know what it
last
was
year.
last year.
They
yeah.
were way too good to miss the playoffs, and somehow Montreal got in.
Yeah.
I would have much preferred to play Calgary that year than Montreal.
So, question, Dan: do you think they paid too much for Kalle Yarncrook? A second, a third, and a seventh.
Not really. I mean, like
Second wasn't even theirs. Actually, I just saw that.
the second wasn't theirs. Oh, it was
was
Florida's.
Florida's.
Yeah. I don't think so. I think if they're going to make a playoff run, this is the time to do it with their goalie just, lighting everything up right now. So pay what you can to make it happen. Kind of like Tampa, pay if you have the means, pay to get it done. And I think they did. So I don't think it's too much.
Well, Toronto paid 2 seconds and a third for Gio and Blackwell when they paid a second, third, and a seventh just for Youngcroc. So
Yeah.
if that's what you need on your team, and that's what it's going to cost, then sure.
If it's what you need,
Um,
pay for it.
Exactly. I think Florida was the team that really loaded up this year. I was really surprised with what they've done.
What a terrifying team.
Terrifying. They're already the best offense in the East. I don't know if they've scored more goals than Colorado or not. I don't think so. But by adding Giroux, it's just more grinding depth on the front. Guy that, like Nick Foligno last year, I know it unfortunately didn't work out for Toronto, but a guy that can slot in literally anywhere on the lineup.
And I don't think they overpaid for him.
I don't think they did either.
Like, not even a
Like, it's-
little bit. Supposedly, Boston and Colorado's pays were higher.
It's Claude Giroux.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you can't say anything bad about the guy.
Yep.
And then by adding, the number one cross checks per 60 guy with Ben Sherratt,
They did overpay for that.
I do not want to. Okay. I remember saying a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last week, that I wanted to see Toronto play Florida in the first round. And then I saw Ben Sherratt went over, and I said, no, I've seen that. I've seen that the refs love the guy, and I do not want to see that in the playoffs again.
Yeah, I think big overpay for Sherratt. Great on the Canadians to get a first-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and a prospect on, I don't know who the heck this guy is, but whatever.
Hey, I only paid $1.75 for my bathroom drain plug, so they really overpaid for that plug.
Ouch, buddy. Shots fired.
That's a great place to move on to the next question. Who was the best seller at the deadline? Let's start with Dan.
So for me, it was Seattle. I mean, they was a fire sale in Seattle, and I think that's because they obviously are not making the playoffs this year, and they're not making any kind of run. So it's planned for 3 years from now, and I think they did that. They've acquired, what did we say, 34 picks over the next few years?
Ridiculous, including their own, but ridiculous.
Exactly. Like, it's going to be crazy in about 3 to 4 years when Seattle is mid to top of the standings. I think we're all going to look back at now and say, that's how they did it. So I think they were the biggest sellers, but I think it's going to work for them in the long run in a rebuild fashion because, well, a rebuild fashion. I mean, they're brand new, but they couldn't pull off the Vegas first time being as a team and, doing really well in the standings. So if that's not the case, get rid of all the top cap space that you can, get all the picks, and build a team from there.
Look at some of these crazy-ass trades. They got a position player in Victor Rask and got Minnesota to retain half for future considerations.
I know. It's crazy.
Here's a player, and we'll pay half his salary. Now, Minnesota sure had to get rid of some cap, sure, but
Bring
go
in Fleury.
for it.
Yeah,
Like,
it makes sense now.
future considerations. Marcus Johansson, who was someone I kind of wanted from Seattle, goes to Washington. They got Daniel Sprong, a serious player. I'm pretty sure in NHL 22, the game, he gets so good, which is maybe not going to happen in real life. Of course, video games are always perfect, but they got him. Jeremy Lauzon for a second-round pick. They picked him up in the expansion draft and said, you don't want us to pick him? First and a third. They got a second. Split the difference. Dig it. I dig it. And then we just talked about Giordano and Yarncroke. No problem there. Dan, I agree. I'm not even going to pick someone. Craig, you got someone else?
I'm going to say Montreal. I think, like we were saying, that Florida overpaid for Ben Sherratt. I think they got a pretty good return for Tyler Toffoli.
Yep.
I think they got a pretty decent return for Arturi Lehkonen.
Yep.
And I'm really looking forward to watching them beat Toronto with a bunch of Laval Rocket players for the next 2-3 years while they're rebuilding.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that live this weekend. It's going to be great. Can't wait to be in a Montreal stadium just being shit on by everyone. This week.
Are you going to be at a game?
I'm going to the game this weekend.
Yeah, okay.
In Montreal.
In Montreal. I did not know that.
And look at their draft picks next year, Craig. I mean, they've got a handful of draft picks next year that they've traded for, so they're going to be tough too.
Just a fleecing of Edmonton. Brett Kulak,
Edmonton,
who's fine, whatever,
Kulak.
for a second-round pick, and then other stuff. Like, what? Why are you a GM still? I don't even remember your name right now. What's the
Ken Holland?
Ken Holland.
Because that team is up and down like a toilet seat.
Yeah. Okay, I am going to throw in a name. Anaheim. They loaded
They also
up.
did well. Yep.
And they did what New York did when they said it's rebuild time. And but they were good. And they're like, you know what? We're going to sell off everything, and we're going to get so much. They sold off 3 amazing players, Ricard Raquel, Hampus Lindholm, Manson, and they got so much back. They got a first. They got just one first and like a bajillion seconds and actual players. Like, so good, Anaheim. So that, I'm switching. That's my pick. Very quickly. Who fucked up? Craig?
There's been so many exciting trades right now. I haven't really paid attention to who messed up, honestly. There's so many good trades going around.
You did say one was a Sens.
Yeah.
That's who I was going to say, too.
There was that. Yeah.
That's your guy. Okay. My guy, I think St. Louis messed up. They didn't really do anything.
No, they didn't, did
No.
they?
I'm going to pull it up quick as I can here. And they got Sundqvist. They traded Sundqvist for Letty.
Mhm.
And they had to trade a second-round pick. Yzerman. Why would you ever trade with that human? He's going to fleece you. So Nick Letty, sure, they've shore up the defense a little bit. That's it. That's it. You guys are trying to go for a Stanley Cup again. You're a good team, and that was it. I don't know. Not great. Dan?
So for me, it's Ottawa also. I think their trades were just ineffective this year, and I'm not really sure. It didn't seem like they were going for kind of a rebuild or like I would have thought they'd bring some experience onto the team, a little bit of long-standing like contract of experience, but they didn't.
They got
do
Hamonic.
much. Yeah, but is that going to translate to a
No.
playoff run? No, not even like nothing. And they had some goalies like I was
They re-signed
really-
Forsberg. That was a good move.
and
Sure,
it was,
it's
but I
okay.
was really
Okay.
hoping
It's a
that would
little-
come to the Leafs.
It's what 2.7
Yeah.
something.
Five,
Yeah. When I heard on the radio, they said 3-year, $8.2 million contract. I'm like, jeez. Oh, that's over the 3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a smart move. I'm glad to see that they re-signed him. Then, unfortunately, that means some not maybe good things for Gustafsson, who was a pretty,
Yeah.
well-touted prospect when they first got him. But
I
yeah,
feel like they could have done better with Nick Paul. Like,
Yeah.
Matthew Joseph is a great player.
Yeah, I know Steve was saying that he really liked Nick Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's
they,
true.
They thought he would.
And he actually has already texted me he's scored his first goal with the Lightning already. So
Oh yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course
welcome
he
to
has.
a good
Great.
team. And here's your Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hope not.
And Zach Senshin, he was one of, as far as I remember, one of Boston's triple first round picks when they had 3 in a row and they busted on all of them.
Wasn't
Just a-
DeBrusque one of them?
Okay, sure, but
So
still,
2 busts
Kyle
and a guy
Connor
wants
was
out.
next.
Yeah.
That's stupid. How did they could have had Connor? I think they could have had like Provorov or some crazy players that are so good, and they busted on all of them. That sounds so bad.
Has Boston been drafting well since Sweeney's come in?
Couldn't tell
Like,
you.
I feel like they just basically have the same team that they've had for a decade,
True.
and that the pieces that they're filling in around it, I don't feel like are the same caliber.
Okay, last question.
I say that now they've tied Toronto in the standings.
Yeah.
So
You know what? That's
yeah.
okay. Okay. We don't want to play the
We're
Atlantic.
okay with
we
with
want to play
wild card.
Carolina.
Yeah.
We want to
Yeah,
play
oh.
Freddie and
yes, we would love to play
destroy
playoff
our
Freddy,
demons.
please.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Last thing on the trade deadline, most surprising trade. What do you think is the most surprising one? Whether it was a player that got traded that you didn't think would get traded, or you think that the what they got back was maybe too much, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they got that. Anything surprising around the league?
I
Dan.
mean, for me, I was hoping for a goalie for Toronto, so I was surprised that we didn't achieve that.
That didn't happen.
I was hoping for Fleury. I was hoping for Forsberg, and then obviously Ottawa signed him. That didn't work out. Fleury would have been the next best rental that we probably could have gotten, but at the same time, we would have had to pay out the ass for somebody just to take us, hopefully, on a playoff run.
Yeah.
And knowing the Leafs, if you pay out the ass and then you are out in the first playoff run, first round, what's the point? So I was surprised to see him go. Well, I wasn't surprised to see him go to Minnesota to back up Talbot or to play with Talbot. But
Yep.
I think that for me, the most surprising was Dubas was not able to secure a goalie. Now, I was kind of surprised when we got Giordano. As we got closer to the trade deadline day, closer to 3 p.m., I was seeing, okay, well, everyone else has done something. Let's see something from the Leafs. Finally, we got something. So that was a pleasant surprise for me.
My biggest surprise, I think, was Fleury to Minnesota. Yes,
Yeah.
Minnesota's going for it this year because they kind of have to. But with the division that they're in, I don't think they really have a shot to get through at least the second round. Maybe they can do an upset in the first round, but I don't think they'll get through 2. And I think that's it. It just seems kind of boggling.
Mhm.
But sorry, I'm going to go back to what you're saying about the Leafs and kind of being underwhelming. I think that Dubas looks at this team and goes, they've got a few more years left, and they can't get rid of all the futures this year. Because if you look at what Tampa's doing, Tampa and Florida and possibly Boston might be better teams than Toronto this year, but next year, Tampa's probably they don't have any assets. Florida has Bobrovsky, who probably will have it's
his off year
an
next year.
875 next year. So next year might be a better year for Toronto to go for it. This year, unfortunately, the East is just so freaking stacked that I think he's looked at it and gone, like the old Leafs motto, next year's our year.
You mentioned Tampa, though, in that, next year they're kind of screwed. You win 3 cups, who cares?
Oh, exactly.
Nobody's going to care if you don't place in the next 10 years of standings. So,
but Boston's getting older. Bergeron, we don't know what he's going to do next year. I think his contract's up this year. Florida, they're going to be in the situation that they're going to be in. Carolina has Freddie. I think that they might look at it and go, do what we can do this year. Bring in someone like Gio to, obviously make our team better, but don't sell the entire farm for this year because this is probably not the best year for it. And even if they can get out of the East, there's freaking Colorado in the West.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. My most surprising one was just Carolina Hurricanes in general. They didn't do much.
They got Max Domi.
They got Max Domi.
Yep.
Why?
Because he can punch John Tavares in the back of the head on faceoffs, and if they're going to be in the first
it.
round,
okay. There we go. We got our answer here first. Reporting on Twitter, Craig Shaw, Domi is going to punch Tavares. But to back up Dan, no, to go back at Craig, therefore backing up Dan. One of those. Did Minnesota really load up? They got Fleury. So
no,
what?
they got just by making a move like that, and Talbot has won 6 games in a row. He's been having a great season.
We listened to the same podcast today, didn't we?
Yeah. Kakkonen was not a bad goalie.
No.
It seems like he has a future, and to be able to move him just to be able to bring in Fleury for this season just seems like an odd move to me. Of all the teams in the league that I thought that Fleury might go to, Minnesota was probably 32 on the list.
32.
But
gotta be 15.
Okay, let's say 15. 16.
But if you look at that division, I mean, you've got obviously the Avalanche with 95 points, and then you've got 78, 78, 77, 71, 68.
They might
so
still miss
tight.
the playoffs.
They could still fuck it up from here, and that's so tight for Minnesota.
No,
so
not with the Pacific. Never mind.
No. I traded Campbell for Fleury. Okay, Fleury's gonna.
Okay.
do great.
So for Kyle,
So it's gonna be your fault.
it's going to be Toronto,
It's gonna
Minnesota
be your
in
fault.
the final. There we go. And if Minnesota wins, it's Kyle's fault. There you go. His
No,
email
it's all
is
Kyle's fault.
What? Okay, that was fun. Trade deadline is always fun. Hopefully the Leafs did the right moves. I think for now and the future, Dubas did a great job. We can kind of mostly agree. Maybe a goalie would have been good, but you know what? Campbell's going to come back strong. Again, my fault because I traded him away. The pressure isn't on anymore.
Yeah.
it's all fantasy driven.
He's gonna be lights out now.
Exactly.
Did you pick him up at the beginning of the season, or did you pick him up at the All-Star game?
I picked him up last year for
Oh.
pennies because he was
Okay.
still the backup,
course.
and then
Yeah.
nobody was picking him up. I'm like, okay, this is mine now, and he went off, and then I won. So
Right.
that was great. That
I'll
was
just
great.
blame you for everything else then.
That's fair. I dig that. That's fine. You can also blame me for the fact that we got to 50 episodes. Way to go, guys! Woo!
There we go, gentlemen.
Don't blame me. We did this together. This is a team effort. Okay, so at 25 episodes, we did this fun thing where we played Who Said It? And we pulled up some quotes from our first 25 episodes, and we tried to guess, of the three of us, who said it. We came up with this other cool idea that we do for 50 episodes. We're going to give out some, three-quarter season trophies?
Let's call it mid-season.
Yeah.
Mid-ish season. Don't fuck up time season. We're going to give some to the Leafs players, and we're also going to give some to each other after 50 episodes on a podcast. So we'll go around the circle here. Craig, why don't you start us off with one of your Leafs trophies?
Okay, so for my first trophy, I've got most underrated player of the season,
Okay.
and my nominee for this trophy is David Kampf.
There's only one nominee.
Well, that's my nominee. You
Okay,
guys,
I see,
you guys
I
can
see.
nominate someone
Okay,
else.
we're
if you
allowed
don't
to
agree
nominate
with
other
me.
people.
Yeah,
I get
absolutely.
it. Okay.
But he has really solidified that third line. The Leafs have been looking for a third line center for a long time. We thought it was going to be Kerfoot for a while. But he really has just been a really stable spot on that third line. That line has been great. And I'm not sure if it's because he's been playing a lot with what Kasha. Okay, Kasha's really contributed as well. But
Yep.
I think for a guy who came in and said, I'm not going to score goals, that's not my job. He scored a fair amount of them, especially on the shorthanded. And he has really impressed me this season.
Dan, do you have any objections to David Kampf being most underrated?
I mean, I have no objections per se. I will throw out another name though. For me, it's kind of Liljegren. I think I didn't expect much from him at the start of the year, and I even think I said I don't like him
You
a
did
number
say
of
that.
times.
Oh,
And he
Because you were
has-
looking at his numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm a stats guy, so that's kind of where I gravitate. But he has really impressed me this year, and I think he would be the most underrated player.
especially
for me.
eye test.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm the tiebreaker here. Okay. I love Liljegren for sure, but I'm going to go Kampf because we have a third line. When was the last time we had a third line?
Yeah, that's fair.
And not a cast off line.
And not
yeah.
a second, fourth line or something.
Not a, what do
right?
we do with these
That's a
players?
good
Lump
point.
them together.
Yeah.
We
So,
had 2 first and 2 third or 2 fourth lines for a while.
David Kampf, congratulations on receiving your most underrated trophy. It's in the mail, and you might get it.
Please call us with your address. We
And,
send
and
it to you.
subscribe. Only if you subscribe and like the video. Dan, you got a Leafs trophy?
I do. So mine's going to be one of those pretty common ones, the Heart of the Team trophy. So there have been some times this year where the Leafs will get down in a game, and there is a certain player that I've noticed that kind of rallies to bring them up. He's a veteran player. His name's Spezza, and I feel that he has the ability to kind of kickstart a bad situation and sometimes able to turn it into a good situation. So while I would like to go with Campbell, who's always positive, or Marner, who's the jokester and the fun guy on the team, I'm going to give it to Jason Spezza because he is the veteran, he knows what's going on. He's been through all of this and he can talk you through it. So I'm going to give it to him.
Okay. It's the Heart of the Team award?
Yeah.
With
that's
an
the
E or just an A?
No, it is HEART. If it was
Okay, yeah.
HART, it would be very different.
Okay. I think this player gets both. I think Austin Matthews, 100% of the time. He's the hardest working player on this team, and just when he's on the ice, and he's working all over the place. Now, yes, Spezza gives his heart to the team, but Matthews' heart is on his sleeve. He goes for it every single second. So my heart of the team, for both reasons, is Austin Matthews.
I like that.
Craig, you got a tiebreaker for us?
I was originally going to agree with Jason Spezza. I think every year before this year, hands down, I would give him that trophy. But Kyle, you made a compelling argument because usually when the chips are down and things are, they're not having a great game, Jason Spezza was always that guy. Matthews has really been that guy as well this season. And with everything else he's contributed, I will have to give it to Austin Matthews.
Okay.
Well, you guys are the worst.
Sorry,
so
Dan.
thank you. Yeah.
I'll
0
gladly
for
give
2.
a smaller version of the trophy with maybe a little bowling guy on top over to Jason Spezza.
Fantastic. Great.
Okay, my first award that goes to the Leafs, and this could be for offense or defense, the Net Front Presence Award. So whether you're on offense and shots are going towards you and you're trying to tip things, or on defense and you're trying to get people the fuck out of the way. It's a tough one, but I think, given his small amount of time here, Ilya Lyubushkin, I think, wins this award for me in the defense category because nobody has done it before him, and I think it's also spread a little bit. Dermott was doing it. Sorry, Dermott, you're gone. Hall is doing a better job at it. Craig, what do you think? Offense or defense better for the Net Front Presence Award?
The first name that came to mind when you said that, I was thinking Johnny Tavares. He makes room in front of the net. He's got some, great hands, great tips in front of the net. I think in terms of the leadership over there, I'll give my net front guy to Johnny T.
One for offense, one for defense. Deal breaker?
So it's really funny because as you guys were talking, or even before you started, Kyle, I was thinking, okay, for defense, I'm going to pick LaBouche. And then for offense, I'll go Tavares because he's fantastic. So now I don't know, and I'm going to say...
Which one's more important?
We can have co-winners.
I'm going to say we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
enough...
Oh, losers.
I'm going to go with Labushkin because we have enough offense. We don't need to have... Well, okay, obviously we need to score more goals, but at this point, the defense is more important as we are dealing with a goalie possible situation. So I'm going to go with Labushkin.
And Johnny already has the C, so.
And Johnny's got the C,
Yeah,
so let's not like stack
He also
all the
could have got
accolades.
most underrated player because people shit on him
that's
all
true,
the time, and he still produces.
And those people are
so-
wrong.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Craig, you have a second Leafs trophy for us?
All right, biggest surprise of the season. And I'm going to give that to Mr. Buzzsaw.
How is that not the same as most underrated?
Well, no. Well,
Craig didn't really put a lot of thought into this, Kyle.
no, they're not the same
He
thing.
wrote them on the drive
Okay,
here,
never
and
mind,
he
I'll
was
give it to-
driving.
A guy
so-
that's just not talked about is underrated, but a guy that came in and you weren't expecting the kind of things.
Okay.
I'm going to
fine.
give that to Andre Kasha. Because coming into the season, our big talks were Mrazek, Nick Ritchie, and Bunting.
money, awesome.
Yeah, and Kasha, we went, well, this guy's been injured for 2 straight seasons. He's got a history of, concussions, and hopefully he's okay right now. But he has really, again, I might even give him for a heart of the team because he's been the new Hyman this year. We thought that was
interesting.
going to be Bunting, but the guy who you put the tank in the gas in the tank and he just goes and can drive a line, that's been Kasha this year.
Man,
And
you
he has
see
been
things that I don't see with Kasha. And maybe that's just me, but he's a great player. But some of those things he said, I'm like, I don't attribute them to Kasha. But Dan, who do you attribute them to?
So I won't disagree with Craig. I do love Kasha. I'm going to go with Kerfoot, though, I think. For underrated, is it? Is that what we're doing? Is that
Surprising.
yeah. So the surprise. So I'm going to go with Kerfoot because I going into the season, I knew he was a good player. He's on a solid line and he's versatile, but I didn't think he'd be putting up the points that we were seeing from him this season.
Okay.
So I think he has really stepped into that second line that he's on with Tavares and Nylander, and I think he's kind of come in on his own, and he's having a great season. He's got 44 points this year. It shocked me, so
Okay.
I'm going to go with him.
I'm going to break the tie, but at the same time, how is it not Bunting? Like, we didn't know what he was.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
point. It's got to be
okay.
Bunting.
Yeah,
It has to
right.
be Bunting.
Okay, but
Yeah.
okay. If I were to break the tie, it'd be Kasha. But is it Bunting?
It's Bunting.
It's Bunting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I get one when I was even supposed to break the tie. Dan, another Leafs trophy.
Okay, so I'm switching it up a little bit here. This is the Oops, I Did It Again trophy. Now, before I tell you who I've picked, I want a 10-second explanation from either of you guys who you think should get Oops, I Did It Again. Kyle?
Mrazek. He lets in the worst goals. Oops, I did it again.
Okay. Craig?
I like that. Oops, I am somewhere in the face-off dot again. Peter Mrazek.
Okay, so this award for me goes to Sheldon Keefe for goddamn too many men on the ice penalties. He has 11 too many men on the ice penalties to the next highest 7, and they come at the worst time. The worst possible situations lead to a too many men on the ice penalty, and then they get scored on almost every time. I am so sick of seeing it. It drives me crazy when I watch, and it's the reason I drink. So
Not
Sheldon
the 2
Keefe-
kids.
Not the 2 kids. Oh, come on, kids. I can deal with having 6 fucking players on the ice when there
When
needs
you're
to
not
be
supposed
5.
to.
Like, I'm going to send him a golden calculator to figure this out, but it drives me crazy. I don't know why it's such a something that drives me crazy. I don't know why though, but it's Keefe for me
Because
for
you're a
this
stats
one.
guy, and the numbers are
Yeah,
not
exactly.
adding up.
Like, why the hell doesn't this work? So I give this to Keefe.
Craig, are you convinced?
I don't want to give it to Keefe. I want to give it to the whole team because they were bad at this under Babcock too. They were also
Yeah, that's
took
fair.
way too many of those.
Yeah.
I don't put it on Keefe at this point. I'm going to put it on just the whole freaking 23 of them.
Okay, so who wins that one? Mrazek, Keefe, or the team? Craig?
Oops, I did it again. I'll give it to the whole team.
Whole team?
Then
Sheldon
Mrazzi
Keefe?
gets it as well.
I think it has to be whole team. I don't think it's Keefe's fault. He's not saying,
Fair enough.
okay, 6 guys go out.
Yeah.
He's
But-
saying,
but that's-
why did 6 guys go out?
But
Boosh and
that's
Riley
why
both
they
got
put
wait.
the penalty under the coach because they
sure,
have
yeah.
to be watching for this.
It's a team
right?
penalty, though, isn't it?
Okay.
Oh, it's a
yeah.
bench
It's
mine.
a bench penalty. Yeah.
Bench
Does
mine.
anyone else think that the coach should be going over to the box and those 2
I think-
minutes?
110%.
I would
110%.
rather see
That's
Keefe
good TV.
grab a jersey and pull them back over the boards to prevent that penalty than
Whoop.
anything else.
I would love to see that. I would love to see that. Okay, I have my next one. It is the MV Swede, who has been the best Swedish-born player on the team. And just to remind you, Nylander, Sandin, Lilgren, Engvall, which I kind of didn't
Swedish
know.
born?
Swedish-born, sure. What did I say?
Nylander's not a Swedish born.
Swedish flag on his cap friendly.
He born in Calgary.
He was born there.
Really? I didn't know
Because
that.
his dad was playing for Calgary at the time.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Which is why we're
Right,
always
right,
like,
right.
Nylander to Calgary,
Yep,
Nylander to Calgary. But he's on the list because he plays for Sweden.
Okay. Sorry.
And last one, Shelgren. He's Swedish as well. So Nylander, Sandin, Lilgren, Engvall, Shelgren.
I always forget that Engvall's Swedish.
I'm going to go Lilgren. I think he's great. And he deserves that award because we didn't give him the last award.
I mean, whether he counts or not, I got to go with Nylander. He's a phenomenal player. When he's hot, he's scoring goals left, right, and
It's
center.
really cold recently, though.
He's cold recently, but that's because he's building for a playoff run. He reserves for a while, and then he goes on bursts. So I'm going to give it to him because I think he's still one of the better players on the team. And without him, that second line would fall apart.
Break the tie or third option?
I think you have to give it to Nylander because he's just such a good player.
Okay.
But
I won one!
I want to give a little bit of love to Pierre Engvall. He's been having a underrated good season right now.
Yes.
Yeah, good point.
True.
We, up to this point, we kind of thought that he was going to be a guy that would be a good trade chip just to, shoot him out of the team.
He is now because he's having a good season.
But he's been on that third line. He's been having a great season. I think that he's the kind of guy that if you can keep him under $1.5 million, that's going to be a good bottom 6 guy to keep on the team.
Why not? I'm surprised Shelgren didn't get some love. I'm surprised.
He hasn't been there long enough.
Okay,
We have a
fair.
small sample
Yeah,
size. I'm
fair.
not giving an MV Swede to him yet.
Okay.
When he wins the Conn Smythe, then we can give it to him.
Yeah.
Can you
Let's get
imagine?
past the first
Yes.
round.
Pulls
okay?
off
And
a
then-
Jonathan Quick or something. Oh,
Oh.
my God. Okay, Nylander, welcome to your MV Swede award. Craig, you got a podcast trophy. One for us, maybe, or for a podcast episode. I don't know.
Oh, he sprung this one on me last night. I didn't come up with a good one.
He didn't come
my,
up with
my,
one.
my first one was most improved podcaster,
Okay, that's good.
and I would have to give that to Daniel.
Hey!
And not just for this season, over the course of the 50 podcasts. Go back and listen to the first episode and listen to Dan's audio quality.
I want to.
Actually, all of us go back to listen to that first podcast. It was bad.
I should too. I haven't.
We really
gone
should just
back yet.
delete that one because that's the first one people listen to.
Yeah, if you put it in that order. So why Dan? Sound quality?
Well, just all of it. Like, I think Dan was the one we kind of dragged into the podcast at the beginning.
Maybe.
I like watching hockey. I don't listen to anything else. I
Exactly.
just watch the games.
But being our stat guy, you're always there for us. You've really grown into your role in this podcast.
That's me crying.
Okay.
You're like, what the fuck are you
I
doing over
don't
there?
know what that was. All right.
Dan, would you agree that you are the most improved
I
podcast?
mean, absolutely. So
you can vote yourself.
Kyle
That's
and
fine.
Craig, I fucking will. Kyle and Craig know everything about every team. I know about what I read 10 minutes before the podcast because I have 2 kids and no time, and half the time I pay 30% attention. So I will vote for me, and fuck you guys.
And without you, Daniel, I'd have no idea what any of the stats are.
That's
Other
right,
than what's
yeah.
rolling around in this goo in my head.
You'd have to open a webpage. So, like, come on.
Oh,
Have you seen my internet? You might just lose me altogether.
That's right.
How could I not give it to Dan now? I'll be a little more specific. The ums and the
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Now, I'm not sure if you guys noticed, listeners, but we had to cut out a lot of ums and a lot of. But he's gotten better.
I don't
making
talk
my
in
life
front
a
of a
lot easier.
microphone a lot,
Yeah.
so that
What are you
whole
talking about?
thing-
You work at home.
Well, that's fair.
You spend all day on Zoom. All you do is talk on a
Yeah,
microphone.
that's a good point.
Okay, Dan, you got a podcast trophy?
Okay, so I have a podcast trophy, but it's in a little bit of a different light. And this is called the Who's Gonna Cry the Most When Matthews Gets Traded? And
Oh, crap.
so based on the reaction of the two people I'm sitting beside, I'm giving it immediately to Kyle.
Okay.
Because Kyle really loves Matthews, even though Craig has that, experience where he saw Matthews in his first game, and he has this kind of ethereal tie to Matthews's spirit or something. I don't know, some crap like that. But Kyle seems to be really invested in Matthews, and I think that it will break his spirit when Matthews gets traded, when we can no longer afford him. So I'm going to give that to Kyle.
He better get traded. He better not just go on the market. Can you imagine?
Well, no, I don't think he's just going to walk. I think it's
Like we got to trade him for McDavid
Yeah,
because McDavid
yeah.
wants out, and it's like, okay, it's time. Let's go, swippity swippity.
Come home. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. No, Craig is going to cry the most. Craig is the
You
most.
think so, eh?
He's the most fragile because he has his little heart attacks when he watches the Leafs. He turns it
No,
off
that's
the
fair.
most.
That
Of
is-
the three of us, Craig watches the least amount of hockey because his
That
heart
should have
can't-
been the award.
he can't handle
The
it.
least
Most
watched
rage
games
quits.
of the year.
See, and that is why I will give it to you, Kyle.
Oh shit!
Because I'm not going to cry about it. I just get a white hot rage and want to throw things across the room.
White hot rage involves tears sometimes.
Okay, so I'm going to change the
when
name
that,
of
when
my...
that fist goes through the wall, yeah, that induces some tears.
I'm going to change the name of my award to Fuck It, Where's My Pipe Award. I'm turning this game off.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean that lead pipe I used to break knees?
Exactly, just break everything.
Yeah.
Oh, this sucks because I put a little bit of thought into this today for my podcast award, and I started thinking about it again, and I'm like, I'd probably give this one to myself.
Go
So
for it.
I don't necessarily have one for Craig, but this is the Give the Guy a Break award. Which of us has been hating on a Leafs player more consistently, or more consistently like one player or two players?
I think we've all been hating on Hall for 50 straight episodes.
Oh,
so
Richie.
far.
Richie.
Okay. But in terms of 50 episodes, I'm going to give it to myself for hating on Riley for an extended period
Yeah.
of time until he got signed and remembered how to be good. It was all, when are we trading Riley? What are we trading Riley for? Why are we not
when are we
trading
putting
Riley?
him on the forward?
Why is he not a forward? Yeah. So as much as I want to give an award to Craig because he hasn't received one yet,
That's okay. I'm used to it.
it's I gave Riley a lot of shit.
I will take one more trophy I'm going to hand out. Is the participation award. I will take that one for
Correct.
myself. Thank
We'll
you
give that
very
to
much.
Greg.
Craig
Yeah.
showed up for almost every single
Almo-
podcast.
That's right. You only
Actually,
missed one
probably
or
the
two.
least amount of podcasts of all of us. I think I've missed more than
That's true. You've missed two.
I missed
so
a couple. Yeah.
You're the write-off award. We're gonna give you that.
Well, I believe I have missed two as well. Oh, wait, you guys didn't record one, and then I recorded a response
Right.
one.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I gotta
yeah,
get
yeah.
in here. I can't miss
Yeah.
this.
That's true.
Okay, Craig, you got somebody else, or is it just me
For what?
for my award that I just said?
Oh no, you.
Okay,
Yeah,
it's
I'll
me.
give it to
Okay,
you.
great.
Oh yeah, that's all yours.
Oh, it's
buddy.
me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
I mean, I hated on Richie for a long time, and then he got traded and he started lighting it up. So, fuck, like that's just not fair. So I gotta
Yeah.
say,
What
even though
about
that happened,
Barabanov? Does it sound? He went to the Sharks last year and started lighting it up. Any
Yeah.
of
Well,
these
that's-
guys, if they go and play first line minutes, they're going to score some goals.
true,
but
yeah.
guys, we need to accept that the Leafs are a farm team. That's what happens. The Leafs are the team
Yes,
they
they
go to before they start excelling in whatever team they go to in the actual NHL.
Except for Galchenyuk.
Except for
He
Galchenyuk.
for
he
Gal-
comes to
Yeah.
the Leafs and excels, and then leaves, and it's like, yeah, I'm worth more money. No, you're not.
That's right. Yeah.
So sure, Richie has scored what? I haven't looked, 7-8 points. Marner has scored 15, 16 in that amount of time. Like the points are coming for the Leafs. The guy couldn't keep
Hey,
up.
wait,
with
hold
them.
on. How many was it? 7-8 points?
Something like that.
15, 16? That's only double. Marner is making 5 times as much as
It's
Richie.
a short,
He's making
small
Marner
sample
money.
size though.
Still, in your comparison.
But look
Craig
at the
does not get the math award. unfortunately.
Look at the other things that Marner contributes. Is Richie killing penalties on every penalty kill?
No.
Probably not. Is he out there in the last 5 minutes when the goal
Welcome
is
to the
pulled?
part of the
Probably
podcast
not.
where we compare Richie and Marner
Yes.
for the next hour.
Apples and dragons. Apples and dragons, my friend.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Any more awards, guys? We got them all.
It's all good, buddy.
Craig gets the biggest beard award. If you haven't seen our pictures on social media, he does have the biggest beard. So well done, Craig.
Thank you.
That takes a lot of work.
I haven't trimmed it since November.
Well, now it's a playoff beard.
But
so
when
don't
was the
touch it.
last time you were clean shaven?
It's over a decade.
A decade.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Alex and I weren't together yet.
There you go.
Yeah.
And you probably won't be together once you shave it off.
That's right.
Yeah,
No,
that's
that'll
what
be the straw that breaks the
Babe,
camel's
I did
back.
a bad thing. Bye.
She has explicitly told me that, yes.
You will not be the same human. Okay, this was
Well,
super fun.
If I want to lose some weight, that's how I do it. So much for this
I want to
Noom
lose 3
stuff.
pounds. Oh, that's funny. Okay, this was super fun, and it probably doesn't need to be edited. That was great.
Yeah,
it was,
probably not.
It was in person, and I just want to do this every single day.
That's the way it should be.
Not every week, just day. Just
Yep,
show up.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, we're here.
Talk hockey
Mics
with
are,
buddies.
mics are ready to go. Okay, 50 episodes. Way to go, team. Thank you so much for listening. If you've listened to all 50, you are the winners of this podcast, not us. And if this is your first one, thanks for joining. Can't wait to enthrall you with 50 more episodes. And of course, a Leafs Cup win after they take out Florida, Tampa, and the Avalanche. Yeah, no, Craig's going to cry when that happens.
Edit, heavy sigh.
Craig just had a mild panic attack. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for listening, and go Leafs go!
Go, Leafs, go!
Go Leafs, go.
Making another song out of that one.
Great.
The award for creating the best song goes to Craig, and the award for singing the best song goes to Dan.
Yeah, buddy.
Dan doesn't have an album out.